Hello, psychology class, and welcome to the first of our video lectures. This one shouldn't be too long, but we're going to be covering a certain type of disorder we haven't talked about yet, and that's schizophrenic disorders. So, many of you may have, or many people get schizophrenia confused with multiple personality disorder. I don't know if any of you guys saw that Split movie with James McAvoy where he had like the 23 different personalities. Well, that's what's known as well, it used to be known as multiple personality disorder, but now it's known as dissociative identity disorder, and that is completely different from schizophrenia. Um, Many people think because schizophrenia is often associated with hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, hearing voices in your head, people will assume that it is the same thing as having multiple personalities, but that's really not the case, and we're going to see that here as we go forward. So let's take a look at multiple personalities, sorry, not multiple personalities, schizophrenia, and see what all of it's really about. So, about 1 in every 100 people are diagnosed with schizophrenia, about 1% of the population. Symptoms of schizophrenia are disorganized thinking, which we'll get into a little bit, disturbed perceptions, again, we'll get into, inappropriate emotions and actions. That one's a little bit more self-explanatory. And so it's really it's what is known as a psychotic disorder, and it's really a disorder that gets in the way of your normal everyday functioning. And because of these three main symptoms, it can really affect how you personally live your life successfully or unsuccessfully. So we'll start with disorganized thinking. The thinking of a person with schizophrenia is fragmented and bizarre with distorted and false beliefs. This comes from a breakdown in selective attention. It's difficult for someone with schizophrenia to sort of filter out information. You guys are really good at filtering out information. You are able to, at a loud concert or a sporting event or even in class. I've seen this happen a lot actually, personally, in class, is when students are talking to each other before class and I'm trying to get the attention and I just like raise my voice and say, all right, let's get going, let's focus up. Um, your ability to filter out my voice because you are listening to the people you're talking to around you, that's selective attention. That is the ability to sort of tune out what you're not paying attention to in order to get to the heart of the issue, which is what you are paying attention to. Now, someone with schizophrenia will struggle to do that. So you can imagine being in a crowded place. They would not be able to selectively filter out all that background noise. They could not hold a conversation to someone in a crowded room full of other people talking. They would just hear snippets of every single like sort of conversation bombarding them because they couldn't filter any of it out, which is a difficult thing. I'd have to imagine. I mean, I can't empathize, and most of you, I'm sure almost all of you probably can't either, because we have that ability. But someone with schizophrenia just doesn't have the ability to do that. So that's where they think that the root of this disorganized thinking is they have trouble focusing in on any one given thing. Now, this is probably one of the most common associations that people have with schizophrenia, and that's delusion, or what we know as false beliefs. So, someone with schizophrenia may believe that they're constantly being persecuted, they're constantly being attacked, someone is always out to get them, and this may make the person very paranoid. Whereas a delusion of grandeur is more of a idea that not that they are being attacked, but a delusion or a belief that they are like superior than they actually are. The reason I chose the picture of Jesus is because someone may actually think they are Jesus. That may be a literal sort of situation that someone is running into. Now, disturbed perceptions. This is where we start running into the hallucinations. Sensory experiences without sensory stimulation. That is what a hallucination is. That is you seeing something when there's nothing there to see, hearing something when there's no noise coming in your ear. Those are hallucinations. Now, they can be achieved through a variety of ways, and oftentimes people who seek out hallucinations are trying to get them, but that's not so much the case here with people with schizophrenia. These are unwanted hallucinations. So you can see, like I saw Bigfoot, or you all of a sudden you're looking at a rhino and then it has zebra stripes on it, or these sort of things. You can tell she has a very bad smell, so she smelled something that isn't actually there. So it can be any sense too. Now, inappropriate emotions and actions, laughing at inappropriate times, something that is called the flat effect, which is where you actually don't have any emotion. You're just very like even keel, very no ups and no highs and lows, just very kind of monotone. Senseless compulsive acts, doing things without thinking about them. And then catatonia, which is actually this motionless, waxy flexibility. So if you were catatonic, think about the Awakenings movie that we watched, those people that were kind of like the frozen statue people that were stuck in a variety of positions. That's catatonia. That's what it looks like. So this can be confusing. So it's good that we're talking about this. Positive versus negative symptoms of schizophrenia. Now, a positive symptom is not a good symptom, as we might think it is just by the name. Positive doesn't necessarily mean good. That just means that you're positive means you're doing something or you're acting in a way that a normal person would not. So hallucinations are a positive symptom because normal people don't have hallucinations. Yet you do. It's like something being added on to your normal behavior or a positive symptom. Now, a negative symptom is you being unable to do something that normal people do. So normal people have all these routines and abilities, and you don't have that. So the um the flat effect, that ability to show emotion in correct situations. If you don't have that, if you can't show emotion, that would be a negative symptom because you're lacking something or a normal ability that people have has been taken away from you. Positive symptoms: presence of inappropriate symptoms. Negative symptoms: absence of appropriate ones. Just a second, I need to pause. I need to blow my nose. We're back. Sorry about that. So, positive versus negative symptoms. Positive means you have something that you shouldn't, and negative means you're missing something you should have. Not good or bad. I know positive, negative leads us in that direction, but that's not what it means. Can get confusing. All right, so there's actually several types of schizophrenia. We're going to look at here. We're just going to really briefly go over these, and then I'm going to show you a video example, or I'm going to attach a video example of one of these here that I'd like you to just watch and look over. So, disorganized schizophrenia. Um, these are people who have disorganized speech or behavior or flat or inappropriate emotion. So these are people that struggle to have that normal action, maybe because they're having trouble filtering out with that selective attention. They could be having trouble with a lot of things. Um, Oftentimes their speech is going to be odd. Like they'll get stuck on these things called clang associations, which is, sorry, I keep pointing at the screen, that does nothing. These things right here. So like they'll get stuck on like a noise, a suffix or a prefix or something like that. So if they said a word that ends with a certain sound, they may get stuck saying a bunch of other different sounds. So like the example, imagine the worst sympathetic, or sorry, systematic, sympathetic, quite pathetic, apologetic, paramedic, your heart's a prosthetic. Like that doesn't make any sense, but they all have that same noise. So they may get stuck saying words that are on that noise because they get disorganized thinking. They just can't filter out normal information like you and I can. Then paranoid. This is probably, again, one of the most common ones, but this is a person who has a preoccupation with delusions or hallucinations. This is someone who believes that someone is out to get them. And the video that I'm going to show you, that I'm going to attach here, is an example, sort of a simulation of what it's like to live with paranoid schizophrenia. So I highly encourage you to give it a listen, give it a watch. Please do. It's very good. It's kind of eye-opening if you've never really thought about what it's like to have that condition. And then catatonic schizophrenia, I'm going to gloss right over this because it's not really considered to be one type of schizophrenia anymore. Um, but essentially, undifferentiated means that you have symptoms that maybe fall under the other two that we talked about, whether it's paranoid or disorganized. You don't fall neatly into one category or the other. Okay, so that's schizophrenia. That's what we're going to look at today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link that video so you guys can watch it and see what it looks like. And then you're just going to have to answer a question about the video that I'm going to put there, and that'll be our assignment for Wednesday. Then we'll have one more for Friday, and then we should be good. And that'll be it. Just two assignments this week, Wednesday and Friday for you guys. And then we'll move on and probably start talking about the serial killer project next week. But that's what we're looking at, guys. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you've been doing, keeping up on everything. You guys are phenomenal. You're fantastic. Hopefully this worked out for you. Better probably than just reading the PowerPoint yourself. So any feedback you have for me, let me know. Email me with individual questions. And thank you so much, guys. You're fantastic. Bye.